Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Very impromptu stream tonight. Just checking in on things. Had a few ideas I wanted to talk about. Let me make sure that my audio is coming through because I think I might have. It's possible I could have just unplugged something, but no, we're good. We're good. All right. So yeah, so very impromptu, meaning that people are just finding out about it. I see we got a good handful of people in here already. Welcome, Gigawatt. See you there in the chat. And of course, my dear sound engraver. Moral of the stream: don't watch things that make you feel bad. Hello, my handsome hello. Um Gigawatt, but I must consume. Yeah, I agree. Even more though than just things that make you feel bad. Gonna talk about that here. Welcome, Sir Cam Laniz. Michael Pine, welcome. Yeah, been a while. We are gearing up slowly to do more Star Wars EU book studies. We've been finishing up the Lord of the Rings one we're doing on the other channel. So we're going to come back eventually for Shatterpoint, but I've been talking to Al about possibly doing is sort of an in-between, maybe just a talk about the Tales of the Jedi audio dramas, because I don't think I can get Al to read all the comics. But I'll talk about the comics. I'm going to do a review of them actually soon. So welcome, Comics Gator, Just Bento, uh GTIS Reborn, welcome. Brandon Walton, welcome. Private Eye, great to see you. So yeah, let me go ahead and just jump in and say what I've got to say because I don't want to stream for too long. I've been recording some videos right before this, so my voice is getting a little bit out. You know, they've got I've been getting over what I think is probably the Rona. I want to say the word, get the channel censored or something here, but I'm probably getting over that. It's been a while. Sound Engravers had it too, and it's been over a week, and we're way up on the mend, but you can hear my voice is a little, so I want to rest the voice here. Let me start though by obviously you see in the title card that I've got the word consume spelled consume OOME, and that's a thing, right? That should signal that I'm talking about a certain type of consuming. But to people who don't know what that means, I do want to just make sure that I'm being clear that what I'm not talking about here is that kind of hippy dippy, oh man, we're just a nation of commercialist consumerism. No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I love capitalism. Capitalism's great. Capitalism working the way it's supposed to work is beneficial, and that's the way that we can partake of mythology and benefit from the benefits of mythology in our society. Because, as I've said before, we're not a cult, a society of one shared religion anymore. So we're not like the ancient Greeks or the Norse or the Celts or whatever. We're a society of a bunch of different religions, and we're all trying to live together in one society. So we've got different religions, different sacred stories within those religions, different belief systems. But if we're going to coexist in one society, then we do need some shared set of stories as a mythology, because that's how values and shared agreed upon behaviors and whatnot are handed down in a society. That's how we can still do business and commerce with each other in a society, even being different of different religious persuasions or lack thereof or whatever. If we agree upon certain behaviors that are fair and should be commendable and encouraged, and then certain behaviors that should be a taboo, illegal, and discouraged. So mythology does that. Mythology hands down a culture's values like that. And since we don't have any one religion to call people to these stories and teach these stories, and hand them down, the entertainment industry has done that in the Western world. And that's great. That's great because everybody wants to be entertained. Everybody wants to go to those stories. And it crops up in ways that, sure, not everybody follows Superman stories. Not everybody's into Star Wars. Not everybody's into the Wild West or whatever. But there's enough commonality between enough of those popular stories so that you might never have picked up a comic book in your life or cared about watching a superhero movie, but that Superman is Clark Kent, and that once upon a time you would know that Superman stands for truth, justice, and the American way. That's changed. We'll talk about how that's changed. That's part of what I'm talking about tonight. My students, when I'm talking to them, even if they've never seen a superhero movie in their life, they've never opened a comic book, if I start saying the phrase, Spider-Man teaches us that with great power comes, they can all finish the phrase, great responsibility. So our industry, our entertainment industry, has given us these certain stories that risen to the top, and these sets of stories, that universes or whatever, that rise to the top, and they become ubiquitous enough and commonly known enough, at least in terms of their temples, that they serve as mythology, so that we can hand down the values. In theory, right? That's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way it did work for a lot of our society history. For example, that's why, and it being capitalism, the supply and demand, that's what works so well about that. And that's what has worked so well about that in the past. Thanks, Daniel Heron. See you there. $2 super chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So, for example, that supply and demand nature of mythology is how, for example, we got the character Superman. He was first created as very much a trickster. You read those first Superman comics that were written, and he's not really anything like the Superman, the Bastion, the Paragon that we know, that brings us hope and helps us to, want to act better, that hopefully you still know about. Again, that's been deconstructed. We'll talk about that in a second. But he was a trickster. Now, how did he evolve into being what the public wanted him to be? Well, that happened very quickly. And this is the thing I've talked about. There's a period of formation when a character's created that really does catch the public mindset. There's a very quick period of formation where the public tells the creators what they want that character to be, what they need that character to be. So Superman becomes a paragon, and then you have other characters that pop up and do tricksterish things, Plastic Man and so forth. The same thing happened with Mickey Mouse. And Mickey Mouse, if you look at some of the early cartoons, he was very much a trickster, out to just kind of play tricks on people, and wasn't always, but now he had to develop into that sort of paragon of children's, cartoon characters or whatever. He's the safe one. Donald's the one who'll pull some mean pranks on people, because Donald's the mischievous one, but we wanted Mickey to be that paragon, if you will, in terms of cartoon characters for children or whatever. So that happens, and it's happening with any character. We can look at Batman, we can look at any character that happens with. But in the Superman, or just the DC characters in general, let's go with that. Eventually, I'm going to talk about people trying to push their agenda, because that's part of it. But it's not just, we're here against the quote unquote the woke ideologues or whatever. It's any kind of ideologue, any kind of ideology, any kind of storyteller that says, I want to push my own agenda, whatever it is, be that a political agenda, a social agenda, or whatever. Any creator that says, I want to push my personal taste, my personal agenda onto these characters, onto this story, at the expense of what the public is saying they want. All right. That's when the capitalism model starts to fail there in terms of supply and demand. And Dan DiDio is a perfect example of that. Superman, as I've said before, Superman and the DC universe, they were hopeful. They were pure. They were iconic. They were a wonderful counterpoint to Marvel. Marvel developed to fill the gap and take the reins on the things that DC wasn't. And it was beautiful that you had the two, main comic universes there, DC and Marvel. Well, you had this punk Dan DiDio growing up, embarrassed of DC characters, starts to work for DC. He's embarrassed of the characters. He really is. He's quite shamefaced by them, because they're not dark and rugged and gritty enough like Marvel. He doesn't like Dick Grayson's Robin because people keep making fun of his name, Dick, and that bothers him. So he wants to change the name. He doesn't like Superman and Lois being married, because we can't have like a happy marriage. That's not gritty and dark like Marvel. This is the kind of insane nonsense that man, and then he just kind of working up in the company, and eventually he became, the head guy at DC and had the power. And that's why in 2011, okay, so from the 30s, when Superman's created, goes through that brief formation period, because the Fly stands for Truth, Justice, the American Way, and so forth. Batman, Wonder Woman, these are characters all go through their brief formation periods, and they become those bastions of hope and that pure iconic universe of the DC universe. They remain that way, okay, from the 30s, 40s, all the way up to 2011. Decades upon decades, when little things will change about the story. Little things are tried, some stick, some don't. But the core of those characters remained who those characters were, because that's what the public needed them to be. The public was drawing on the inspiration, the mythology of those characters. Dan DiDio gets tired of that. He wants it to be like Marvel. In 2011, he finally gets the power to initiate New 52. Then it's mandated. It's publicly mandated from on high, from his chair downward. He makes the writers and artists change Superman, make Superman darker, make Wonder Woman darker, make Batman even darker, but make everybody more like Batman, make the Flash darker, make him lose his parents, lose some hope, blah, blah, blah. He mandated these changes. They didn't happen organically. And as I've said before, they got a little bit of a flash in the pan in sales, of course, because it was a big deal. You're changing these characters that haven't been altered like that in decades. You're dialing Action Comics and Detective Comics back to episode or to issue 0, issue 1. That was a big deal. So of course there's some flash in the pan sales. And I'm not going to tell you that every single thing that was written or done within the New 52, the few years that they had it there was horrible or anything. Of course, you've got talented writers, talented artists. Some good stories are going to happen, but that was the death knell for the DC universe. They almost got it back when Warner Brothers was mad because the sales are going down. People just don't care about DC anymore, because why? If you're going to do dark and gritty, you can't get grittier than what Marvel was. This is before all new, all different Marvel. You give us DC. Let DC be DC. Stop making DC a pale comparison or pale shadow, of what Marvel was. So it was silly. And they did Rebirth, which was all about getting the characters back to that hopeful state, which was glorious, truly was glorious, until Dan DiDio got a hold of the reins a little bit again. Then he kind of just totally ran that off the track purposefully. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he killed all the hope that was there. And eventually, long overdue, the man was fired. Good riddance to everything he worked for and did. But you can't save DC. There's no going back, because DC is now a part of this other problem. Okay, so that's one of the problems I wanted to outline. What happens when people disregard that supply and demand aspect of capitalism? Some people still think that that's there. No, it's all once the money goes, once they hit that bottom line, they'll start listening to us, because go woke, go broke. That's baloney. That's malarkey. Wake up. That's not happening anymore. No one cares about the bottom line of the money anymore, because it's all about the agenda. Again, whether it's a political agenda or whatever, it's these ideologues who haven't, like, whether it's Dan DiDio just has a personal taste that he wants to push into there no matter what, or whether it's ideologues with political or socioeconomical or cultural agendas that they want to push, which is what we see a lot of today. So let me go back now and talk about the nature of the entertainment industry and what happened, because some things happened that allowed the woke ideologues to come in and have all the power that they have now. And I want to cover that first before we talk about what's going on there now, because it'll help make my case a little bit. There's a YouTuber, I think his name is Channel Surfer. Last I checked, just the other week, actually, it's what kind of spawned the idea of this stream. I don't think he's made a video for for a year or so, but he would make these actually cool little documentaries on his channel about classic TV and stuff like that. And the one that brought me to it was I grew up, I was born in 79. So 91, I'm like 11, 12, 13 in the early 90s and whatnot. And there was this time when Nickelodeon had this thing on Saturday nights. Right. So I was a fan of the Nickelodeon channel for kids. And they had this thing on Saturday nights called Snick. It was like Nick, but then the S for Saturday, Snick. Many of you guys, maybe classic Snick. Maybe you're fans of it like I am. Loved it. It was a big thing. He does this whole documentary on it where he talks about the glory days and how it was so new and what was so revolutionary of it. They put these different shows in. They were catering to an audience that hadn't been catered to, kind of preteen, early teen or whatever there. And he talked about it. And you guys know, if you guys are fans of like classic Are You Afraid of the Dark? Clarissa Explains It All. I had such a crush on Melissa Joan Hart. Don't worry, Sound Engraver, long before you. But Roundhouse, the crazy talent those cast had and stuff like that. I wasn't a big Ren and Stimpy fan myself, but that was it was classic, right? It was immensely popular. People loved it. And he chronicles in that documentary that he does, he says he chronicles what happened to Snick, how it eventually, different shows came and went or whatever. But he looks at the nature of the industry and how the industry started to change. Eventually, the people that were in charge of Nickelodeon at the time left. And if you remember classic Nickelodeon, you remember that it was all about branding. You had all those, and they're so much fun now to go look up on YouTube. You can look up the classic Nickelodeon bumpers, just the little ads that they would make, just advertising their own channel that you're already sitting down and watching. But it made you feel like you were in a comfortable brand. There was the brand of Nickelodeon. You knew the type of content you were going to get from Nickelodeon, and they reminded you of that with their little bumpers and their branding advertisements and whatnot. And Snick did that in particular with the big orange couch, and made it feel like it was an event, for you to be there. You knew you were going to get a certain quality of content from Nickelodeon, from Snick in particular and whatnot. And Channel Surfer chronicled the change in that. And this is a change that happened across the television industry. And I'm going to say it happens across all mediums, but he talked about how eventually the little bumpers start to fade away because Nickelodeon starts to make so much money that they don't want to spend money on making bumpers just to make you love the channel. No, they just want to get more money. They don't care if you love the channel. They don't care about that nostalgic feel. They don't care about that brand recognition anymore. They just want your money. They just want to get into the next big thing, sell it their ads to advertising, to get that revenue and so forth. So they're no longer caring about a brand. And that happened with Cartoon Network. You guys, if you're like me, you were fans of classic cartoon, that was amazing. Cartoon Network, Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, all that great stuff, when Hanna-Barbera, kind of owned it and stuff. That was brilliant. That was wonderful. You don't see that anymore. You don't see that. Nick at Night, all those great channels and whatnot. They stopped having brand recognition. They stopped caring whether or not you thought much of the channel, as long as they could get your money. As long as they could get your money, as long as you were sitting down watching, they got the rating, they could sell the ad space to you or whatever. Doesn't mean that no good shows, still popped up here and there or whatever. Of course they did. But we're seeing that, I'm saying, across mediums. It's not just television networks and whatnot. That's the case with music today. Rick Beato did a video where he was talking about, he has a very specific angle on this, which I think is true, but I think it's even a bigger issue than that, where he's talking about why young people just don't listen to music anymore. He said they spend all their time playing video games or, watching YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And I know that's true from my nieces. Music, your favorite musicians or bands, not everybody's into music the same way or at the same degree as a teenager, but that was pretty much a general universal truth that, at least in the Western world, if you're, 13 to whatever, you've got your favorite bands and you love those bands. You're loyal to those bands because you know the brand of that band. You know that type of music that you're going to get. You buy their CDs, you buy their t-shirts. Those days are gone now when it comes to music. Young people barely have the attention span to get through a whole song, much less a whole album. Who cares about an album? No, my niece was listening to music on her phone, and my sister, I've always loved Aerosmith. It's one of the bands that I really loved growing up. And my sister said, "Oh, she's got an Aerosmith song on her phone." I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I was like, "What song is it? What song is it?" She's like, "I don't know." Well, I mean, it turned out it was Walk This Way because she heard Walk This Way on some YouTube video or TikTok video that she watched once. So she just threw that in on the amount. Doesn't even know its name. Couldn't even tell you that Aerosmith sang it, or whatever. And she sits there and listens to music, and it's just, sound bites. It's just this jumble of completely random sound bites from videos. There's no attention span. There's no finding your identity as a consumer, consumer, the way we should be consuming, in a capitalist culture. There's no consumer sumer in that anymore because you're not exercising your own identity. Hey, these are the bands or these are the shows, these are the movies, these are the kinds of things that that I identify with, that I like. These speak to my taste. These stories, these music, this art, whatever speaks to me as a person. It's helped build me up as a person. I'm gonna surround myself with some of the action figures or t-shirts or accoutrements or whatever. I'm gonna identify with this, and in turn, I'm gonna be loyal to the brand. That's light years away. Our consumerist SOOMER culture is so far beyond that. That's not even a thing anymore. The television shows, the musicians, the whatever outlet of entertainment isn't concerned with building a brand. They don't care if you recognize their brand. They just want you watching. They want your view. They want your if you're going to talk about it for good or bad, they want that publicity. And people, it used to be if you were a geek, that really said something. You could go through somebody's CD rack and really kind of know something about them from the kind of music they listen to, or go through their DVD rack or book rack. Nowadays, you can't. Nowadays, it's just geek is chic. Geek is just like, oh, you got to have this or that, or, gone are the days when Star Wars fans knew everything about the lore of Star Wars. Now it's just like, OMG, did you see Baby Yoda? OMG, I got the pop vinyl. That's Star Wars fans now. And that's lost. So the the work of these stories as mythology has been lost. That's the nature of the entertainment industry that people are working from, and that consumers, SOOMERs, are going into, because they've got to have product. All right. So the TV channels, the musicians, the movie networks or whatever, the production companies or whatever, they don't care about brand recognition. They just want your money. They need to get bigger, bigger, get more profit, need you to watch no matter what. And then the consumers, SOOMERS, don't care about quality. Now suddenly you hear, geeks, fans, people who were really connoisseurs of good story at one time, people who understood the primal appeal of something like Star Wars or something like the original Superman story or whatever. When they talk about stories they quote unquote love, or the stories that they're into now, no more do they say this is amazing, and they're telling you about it. Now they say things like, it was okay. Hey, it was entertainment. I munched some popcorn and I liked it, and that's okay. Or they say things like, well, it wasn't that bad. Actually it wasn't that bad. There was a little bit of agenda stuff, but it really wasn't that bad. Or they say things, well, if you just ignore this, it's actually pretty fun. It's actually That's the way they've lowered the bar, because they can't not consume. Don't It's death to them if you dare suggest that they don't consume product, because they've lost that magic of getting the inspiration from stories, letting mythology do its work within them, of building up their identity. And I don't mean in an unhealthy manner. There's an unhealthy extent that you can build up your identity with media entertainment, and that's not what I'm talking about. But there's a healthy aspect of that too. You get your, whether it's posters on the wall or action figures or whatever, you get your touchstones to these stories or to this art that meant a lot to you. That's gone. Now it's just about consuming. Oh, I got to get the pop vinyls because of the cootsy wootsy. I mean, if you have a pop vinyl, then you've lost part of your soul. I'm sorry. These things are stupid. I kind of got, before I knew any better at first. Oh, they did a He-Man pop vinyl. Well, okay, I'll get the He-Man just because I needed something He-Man or whatever. But I'm looking at this thing and like, this is the ugliest little piece of garbage. It's what is He-Man? He-Man's supposed to be virile, strong, and they squished him down to this little big head, big eye chibi, like, woo, and that's part of animes, oh no, he said something bad about anime. But yeah, they're not everything from Japan's wonderful. Some of that, little chibi kind of influence has been detrimental, I think, to stories in mythology, and that's part of it with that pop vinyl nonsense. But again, just that consumerist, and I'm not anti like TikTok. I'm not anti YouTube. Obviously, I've got a YouTube channel, but I am pointing out the dangers and what some of this technology is doing to the way we partake of stories, partake of art in general. Um, it's killing attention spans. Students can't even watch a movie anymore. You guys know, it used to be when, the teacher wheeled in a cart with the TV or a VCR, back in those days, you were like, sweet, we're going to watch a movie for class today. And you sat there and you watched that movie. Nowadays, if I'm in a class and I'm going to show a movie, not just even like a video, not even something this, I almost visibly see this groan in the students. Are like, oh, and then everybody gets up to go to the bathroom, because they can't fathom having to sit there and stare at a screen and stretch their attention span that long. Can't do it. TikTok video, 15 seconds long's top, and 15 seconds is really too much. You're going to lose them if they got a 15-second TikTok video, or the YouTube shorts, or Instagram or Facebook. There's nothing wrong with that kind of thing. If you want to use it to advertise another longer video, or something like that, fine. But the technology and the laziness and the consumer, SOOMER, nature of people, they've lost their soul. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic with that, but I'm being kind of metaphorical. They've really lost their souls, because that's what art speaks to. Art speaks to the soul, music, bypassing the logic, getting right to the emotions. Story being the truth inside the lie, recontextualizing some real world struggle that you have in a different way in this story. And then it can really speak to your life and speak to, the development that you want to make or something like that. Art is about the soul. And in our culture today is not interested in anybody's soul. Our entertainment industry is just interested in putting out crap to get you to buy it so that they can make money. And the consumers who can't not consume, gotta watch that new product, can't help it. They're part of the problem. They're part of the problem. If you went to see Doctor Strange, don't even remotely tell me how bad it was. Like that's like you're doing something. No one gives a crap what you think about it. I don't give a crap what you think about it. It drives me up the flipping wall. How many people message me? They find me on Facebook or they message me email or whatever. All right, prof. So I was weak and I saw the such and such, but you're so right. Oh my gosh. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm right. You are already part of the problem because you were weak and had to go see it. And you also have the people who say, well, no, I've received so many ridiculous justifications because people can't stand the idea of not being able to consume this new product. Well, watching movies, that's I need to go see these movies so I can understand what's good story and what's bad story. What? What? No, that dulls your perception. Going to see bad stories and bad art dulls your perception of good art. It's not the other way around. What logical, Candyland did you build that in? That's ridiculous. Um, well, hey, we gotta watch it. Hey, if it's good, I'll enjoy it, and if it's bad, and I just won't. Well, who cares? You don't have discernment, you don't have taste, you don't have any say in the matter. But again, as I pointed out, there's this stupid little dopamine hit that they get from going on to their favorite YouTubers. And I'm not calling any other YouTuber out because I don't do that, but I'm just calling out the whole YouTube phenomena in general. Think of any of your favorite channels that go out there and they talk about the problems are the MCU and the Star Wars and blah, blah, blah. They don't want change. They want this to last because that you're watching and getting their ad revenue and they're getting the hit that they want and you're getting the dopamine hit that you want because you can feel like you're part of an anti blah, blah, blah community. It's all part of the problem. And that's why it's so ridiculous when people make arguments like, yeah, but Filoni and Favreau, they're fighting back. They're fighting back from the inside. No, they're not. They're part of they're telling you stories in the same continuity that all the garbage is in. Disney knew that, Disney knew we needed to get fans back to Star Wars after Solo, and Jon Favreau said, I can probably get fans back to you. And sure enough, he did, because all he had to do was dangle the right carrots to get you to come back, to shut up. And you can see your little conspiracy theories about, oh, this is going to change. They're not doing this content. They're doing that content. No, they're not. And in the meantime, you've just, bought them years upon years to keep doing whatever they want to do because you're back on board. You're back on board. Doesn't matter. No, I pirated it. I don't give them a cent. Yeah, but you go online and you talk about all of it. And you're part of that community. You're part of the publicity. You're part of it. You are a consumer and you've got no soul. that's the end of it. That's the truth. It's so hard for people to swallow. By consuming, I just gotta give everything a chance. You've lost your soul. You've lost your discernment. Who cares about your taste? Who cares what you liked about this and didn't like about that? You'll go watch it anyway, so why should the companies care? There's no incentive for them to ever get back to realizing, you know what, we do have to work on brand recognition. We do have to work on getting people to love our channel, to getting people to love our content, and that kind of like the old, SNCC thing I was talking about, the example, our Cartoon Network or whatever. There's no getting back to that. And I would venture to guess that even, and this is the last bastion, people, I don't talk about anime on my channel because weebs are just so insufferable with their recommendations and whatnot. But yeah, I like some anime. Like it a lot. Certain animes I like a lot. And I don't follow the anime community or anything, but I do see it happening even within anime. Just because something's in that anime style does not make it safe in any means. And just because something comes out of Japan does not make it safe in any means. These companies like Disney and so forth, they're sinking their tendrils into these countries, and it's becoming harder to tell what's actually from a maybe some of your tried and true anime sources and what's from other ones. Gone are the days of Toonami. Gone are the days of that kind of, again, that brand recognition. Pretty soon you're going to see Disney's anime from Crunchyroll. You're going to see all of your sacred sources and your sacred beliefs that anime is the way, that's the way. All of those sources are going to start giving you all this garbage too, because it's a cancer. It has to be rooted out. You can't just You can't just pretend that it's going to go away on its own. It's not. The consumer has no soul, or they're in the process of losing their soul, because you cannot. I mean, I started this channel with the firm belief, and the reason, kind of the mission statement of this channel was that you have to consume stories responsibly. It's not just oh, I can just watch anything I want and I can like whatever I want and whatever. Well, sure you can, like I say on my channel trailer, but the stories you surround yourself with will have an effect on you. They will influence you. Whether you know it or not, they're going to influence your worldview. They're going to influence your behaviors, the way you treat others. They're going to influence your outlook. They're going to ultimately influence society. The kind of stories that you promote, the kind of stories you keep in the limelight with your views, with your hashtags about them and so forth, they will influence society. And that's why you have to consume stories responsibly. That's why you can't consume stories. That's why you should be a discerning, educated, but I don't mean like you got to take classes on what's a good movie or something like that, but in the terms of cultivate some taste, cultivate, don't, it would, I know people who will watch anything Star Wars as long as it's got that John Williams music. Yeah, but at least the TIE fighter, and at least, it got the lightsaber look. That's not a fan of Star Wars. That's not a fan of Star Wars at all. That's a consumer who at least has some trace memories of some of these looks or sounds. If you really love Star Wars, you'd be so sickened by something that looked like Star Wars, which wasn't the heart of Star Wars at all in its core and its content. You'd be sickened and disgusted by that. But not the consumers. The consumers need content. Gotta have product. Is there a new product yet? Gotta have that product. Gotta have the latest show to talk about, to tweet about. And why don't they just watch, the great old shows and movies that came before? Because that's not a current hashtag. They don't feel like they're part of a community with that. They don't feel like, they don't get the little hit, that everybody else is talking about it or watching it right now. So that's I think at this point I'm just starting to say things that I've already said many times on my channel, going around in circles. So I'm probably going to wrap it up there. I'll slip here through the chat a little bit, because I did see a lot of people tagging me and whatnot, and I will cut this out, try and make it a video or two. I don't know. We'll see what I can do with it in the editing. But I appreciate you guys watching and coming out on a impromptu stream Saturday night. 70 right now. I don't know what it might have gotten up to or anything before. Let's see here. Venzinger, aka El Ataku, the Weeb Pillar. The Weeb Pillar. Don't worry, I won't watch any MCU or current Hollywood project. More anime, Tokatsu, alternative entertainment, and manhwa for me. I mean, I don't know any of those things, but but again, I don't think anime is immune to this. Granted, you're going to find a lot more today, decent story wise, through like something like an anime source than you would something else. But I think that, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but I think that people do need to stop pretending that as long as it's anime, we're safe, because their tendrils are long, and they've already started to sink into to quote unquote anime and whatnot. Michael Pine, thank you for the super chat. There says, Prof, working on a story right now. What do you think about going from one archetype to another? I want to make a character go from Tom Sawyer to Clint Eastwood. Well, that's basic character progression. And a character from Tom Sawyer to Clint Eastwood isn't really, that's okay if they're growing up. You could have a character who's a trickster growing up, or comes of age or whatever, or goes through a life-altering event and then becomes more of a frontiersman or a hardened character. Yeah, I mean, character progression is real. That's fine. There are certain archetypes you can progress into one another. You can't do it in some. Like, you can't have your cathartic motivational progress into an aspirational, no matter how many Zack Snyder fans want to pretend that's what he was doing with Superman, or that's what Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman. It's all about him being hopeful. No, it's not. That's so ridiculous. I'm glad they're doing a sequel to the Batman, because people are going to realize, people who are trying to defend that movie, saying that no, it's about him learning, he can't be about vengeance and he has to inspire people. That's wonderful. No one wants to go see the movie about him inspiring people. They will not do that as a sequel. If they actually do a sequel, it'll be about him screwing up and having some failing and having to learn some other lesson, because no one wants the stories of the aspirational heroes anymore. And characters who become aspirational, you can't stay like that. So that's a garbage defense for that movie. And people will see through that kind of nonsense eventually. But um Senator Graver says people even emotionally supporting Disney indirectly support a life of vice. Um, oh yeah, you mean like with their agendas that they've come out and basically said that they want to, push this, they want to indoctrinate people and stuff. I should say this before we wrap up, because I forgot to mention this. One problem, with the loss of branding too, with companies getting so big or just worrying about the product and money, money, money. Disney owning everything now is ridiculous. Disney has long since lost their soul when it comes to any sort of brand recognition. The word Disney means nothing now. It means nothing. It means a company that owns a lot of crap. That's pretty much all it means now. Because if you can get things as disparate as well as things that it should be as disparate as Star Wars, Marvel, princess movies. I saw a envelope that came. My sister got the DVD movie club, Disney Movie Club or whatever. And on the envelope, you used to be that you'd see the silhouettes of iconic, instantly recognizable Disney characters. You see the silhouette of Cinderella or Mickey. Oh, that's Disney. But now, because they own everything, you're also seeing the silhouette of like uh Scrat from Ice Age, or you're seeing the silhouette of Bart Simpson. And all of that we're supposed to buy as Disney now? No, I don't care that you made a transaction and you own those properties now. That's to heck with your brand. Screw your brand. What is your brand? Disney's nothing. There's no Disney brand. It's just everything that you could greedily grab wrap your hands around. That's all your brand is. So part of it is something like Disney just getting too darn big, and they've lost their soul in that completely. Um, Oh, and listener says, can you tell me what's next after Princess on Mars? I'm currently starting the John Carter series. Maybe it. Oh yeah, the John Carter series is great. Off the top of my head, I don't know the next book after Princess of Mars. You can look it up easily. Look up the order of John Carter books, and you'll find it. There's even I actually do have. If I knew where it was, I would grab it and show you, because that would give you your answer too. I've got a collection. It's a big, huge hardbound collection of a lot of the John Carter books, stories in them in order, um, which are pretty great. Tarzan too, yeah, good stuff. So that's all I got tonight. My voice is shot. Um, Said a lot of things. I'll go back and look on the edit and see if see if they made enough sense to cut out into some videos or whatever. But thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. Thanks for popping in on Saturday night. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. It's shaping up to do well. I am having a wonderful weekend. Gonna shape up quite well myself. So yeah. Sorry I couldn't be more responsive to all the tags and whatnot, but I just had some stuff I wanted to say before my voice ran out, which it's pretty much doing now. But yeah, thanks to Sartorical Game, Brian Gilmartin, AL, seeing a lot of people that hadn't seen it. Well, I haven't been streaming in a while, so that makes sense. So we'll come back with book studies and whatnot, and more things in the channel in that nature. So we'll see. But you guys can keep content. Other things coming. Sound Engraver is going to have a stream Monday night. She's talking about a lot of cool stuff. Al does little reviews. Al's and I see very differently. Do not see eye to eye on the consumers, but love him anyway. And we'll always give him a nod there for whatever he's doing there. So yeah, thanks for watching, folks. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the real, true stories that are going to feed your soul, not just turn you into a consumer. See you next time.